Wednesday, the 15th of November, 2017, here on Calon FM. And of course, it's that moment in the show where I do Artist of the Week. And the Artist of the Week, of course, is Spoken Word Poet of the Week, which in this case is Natasha Borton. Natasha, say hello.
Hello.
Hello. Oh, I like it. Yeah, sorry, I did go really... That was almost creepy and sort of...
Only marginally.
Okay, all right then. Very patronising. I'll promise not to do that again. Right, so... Spoken Word Poet. We've talked all about the various things about how it's like to become a poet, how and all that sort of thing, and what you do, and your IMDb Wikipedia page description. We've done all that now, but some things. I remember walking down the street. I feel like the moment I was going to sing a song then, but I'm not. There is that do. That's the one, but. And there was once, right outside Enegin, the art space itself, the punk place itself, poetry takeaway. Well, a takeaway van, and instead of being food there, it was food for our soul and for our thought.
Food for the brain.
Food for the brain. That's even better description. And it was a poetry takeaway, and you were what? There were 4, 5, 6 poets there.
There was 3 of us.
There's only 3. It felt more than that.
Yeah, well, you've also got the compere, which is Michael.
Right, okay.
But he doesn't actually write the poems. He's kind of the guy who talks to the people on the street that want to talk to the poets, fills them in on what's the deal, so that when they get to us, we can be efficient.
Right, okay, I get it now.
That's his job.
So tell me, what was poetry takeaway? Because I haven't given an explanation. So what was it?
So the poetry takeaway is just like a burger shack.
Okay, ace.
But inside, instead of having like fryers, you've got pencils and pens and little post-it cards and nice little envelopes to put poems in, and you'll have 3 to 6 poets. I think you can fit 6 in there, but it's a very small space.
Yeah,
it was tiny. It's very cramped, but it's lovely because you get to be so close to all your other influential word colleagues.
Is there? I've got to ask. I mean. Because some of them I didn't know, but they're sort of quite famous on the poetry circuit.
They are.
I didn't know at the time.
Laura Ogden, I think, was the most famous of the bunch. But there's loads of them that do it. I mean, Sophie McKean, obviously Youth Poet Laureate for Wales. She's been involved with Poetry Takeaway. She's actually how I got involved with Poetry Takeaway. And they've had a lot of people like Cecilia Knapp, who headlined Voicebox a couple of years ago, or last year, I think. And she's had a headline show across the country. Yeah. So, they're big players. They're not small fish.
Camaraderie okay, then?
Oh, yeah, it's fabulous.
Nice.
Yeah, we always laugh about
it seemed like there was a bit of a
things.
joke there
it was
going
a right
on
joke.
there, yeah.
It was so much fun. But it's actually sponsored by Nationwide.
Okay.
So they...
Building Society.
Yeah, well, they're really into their poems. I mean, you've seen the ads.
I don't see, it's really awkward to do this on air because really, first of all, before we go any further, there are other building societies and other banks available.
There are,
but yes.
But this one has poets.
But they're the only ones who poets, which is and we yes, the one with Holly McNish just made, which I must admit, it's. Oh, I can't. Do I say this in there? Yeah, I do. Tears running down there because just the moment when she's talking about a little bit label, and I just go, wow. But they are very good at this. It's certainly, and they're bringing forward. And the best thing is they are bringing poetry, which is it's such a great art form in itself. So it was great. But yes, so it was sponsored by Nationwide. And how many of those have you done?
I've done. I think technically it counts as 2, but I did 2 days down at the Royal Welsh Show.
Oh, right, that's 3 then.
So 3 of them, why not? But those 2 are actually inside a Nationwide stand.
Oh, right, okay.
At the show. So this is the first time I've been in the takeaway van, which was great fun because obviously everyone they've got loads of pictures on social media about what it's like to be in the poetry takeaway van, and they're quite a famous thing in the little circle, in the poetry circles. So when I was like, I'm going to do the takeaway van, and I turned up and there was no takeaway van, and I was like, well, this is just write a poem and take it home with you. This isn't just takeaway poetry. But I got to do it in the actual van. It was amazing. It was just so much fun.
So the idea is someone comes up to it, and the idea is you basically write a poem for them.
Yeah, well, they sit down. So Michael, the compere, will come over and he'll talk to them and designate them a poet, if you like. And then we'll just ask them, what would you like your poem to be about? And normally that's about 10 minutes of stuttering. And then we come up with a topic, and it can be anything. I've written poems to people's grandchildren in America, and I've written it about their dog, and we've written it about honeymoons, and I wrote a poem about a guy being a sperm donor, and there was just a bit of everything, and really is everything.
There's a joke I can do that, but it won't be allowed to do on air, so I can't do it.
But yeah, so you get a little bit of everything. But the most, you sit down for 10 minutes and have a chat with them, and then after those 10 minutes, they go away, say 20 minutes, and you write them a short poem, and it is only short, but that's sometimes all you need, and they give you all the material you need anyway, so you're kind of just rewording what they've said to you in a more poetic fashion, if you like.
Which one, is there anything in particular, one event, one person who came over, one poem more than anything, which you remember more than most, is a favourite moment, or were they all?
Well, obviously I got the poem about the sperm donor, and I was really happy to get this poem because I thought, oh gosh, it's something different. This guy's obviously spent a lot of time coming over to do it, and I was really proud of him for coming up and asking me to do a poem about that, which was nice. But I turned around to all the other guys in the poetry takeaway, and I was like, so this is my subject matter. And they went, oh gosh, I think that's possibly the hardest poem we've ever had in Poetry Takeaway. And I was like, oh great, I'll just take this one then.
All right.
That was loads of fun. But I did a poem for a little girl in America whose grandparents are in Wales, and her parents were from Wales, and she speaks Welsh. And she was over there doing that, and that was particularly lovely. And like loads of different things. There's a particular one that really stands out, which was a family who I think the family just split up or some of the situation like that, but this woman was there with her 4 kids, and they were all fluent Welsh, and at the end of every day they told each other, I love you to moon and back, but in Welsh. And so I got to incorporate that into the poem, and when we were down at the Royal Welsh, I was the only Welsh poet of my shift.
Right,
so I was the only one that knew a bit about the Welsh language and to integrate, so it was wonderful to be able to give that to her in her language. But it was just, that was loads of fun.
Okay, no, cool. And that's not the only thing which you've also done workshops in the area.
Yeah, I do. I've done quite a lot of workshops with Yale and like Kim and stuff.
Tell me what those are, because some people won't know. So
yeah, well, I called it Yale, didn't I? It's College Cambria now.
Yeah, it's okay. College Cambria, yeah.
Bit confused. But Kim is a mental health charity in Wrexham, in Wrexham. So I met up with the women there for about 10 weeks. Which was great fun because we got to work through some really big topics and poems, and every week I got to come back and see the same people, so that was nice. But I like to bring in a lot of exercises and bring in some different activities for them to do so they can engage with words in a different way. I think that's the real point of workshops.
It's just getting them to practice.
Yeah. I mean, you spend a lot of time in schools, they give you your set text and they've got set amount of time, so I feel like in workshops I'm definitely privileged to get the time to explore words with them rather than being like prescriptive about it, which is nice for me.
Is there any one particular workshop which brings back fondest memories?
So I did an amazing workshop. It was after a lot of news had come out, but there was a lot of the terror attacks and there was an awful lot of stuff happening on home ground. And obviously the people came to my workshop and they'd all been experiencing it. We're all in the same culture. We're all a bit stressed out. And so I thought, do you know what? I'm just gonna scrap my poetry workshop for today. And I ended up making those little paper squares that you used to make in
fortune teller thingies.
The fortune tellers, yeah. But on the outside was numbers. And on the inside was like emotions and colours, and so they could use all that, which was tactile and also sensory. But inside, I had each of them write a positive message to someone else in the room, but inside their own. So when they swapped them and they played it with each other, it was different positive messages that they had to read out to each other that were tiny little poems. And that was so much fun because it got everyone moving around the room, rather than just being sat at a desk doing poetry. They
were networking with each other. They're actually, it's those interpersonal skills.
Yeah, that was loads of fun. And plus I got to figure out how to make those fortune teller things again, so that was great.
Okay. So if the next time we're doing a workshop, will you be doing that again?
Oh, I'm going to definitely pull that one again, yeah.
So it's the one reason to come anyway, so now you can do the little paper fortune teller origami things. Okay. I'm going to stop it there for today. Tomorrow I want to bring on to a subject which you talk more, some of your poems about gender issues and whatever. But for now, can we just have one poem and then we'll be back and we'll talk about that tomorrow.
Hailwind grips a fingernail between her teeth, holds, spits it onto the ground with a thud, her shoes dangling green and grey against the cobbles. Stones, courtyard, schoolyard, bell, bell. And as the clouds linger in a mid-morning sky, Reese reaches down to his knees, mud-caked, lace-tight in place, a knot sealed with the promise of the ground that bites and pulls up a trouser leg that bunches at the knee. To see the red framed by pale and displaced skin. And at the end of the long day, Stephen bundles home to a wedge of bread by the fire. Cheese melting down, the soot hands grip the crust and leaving fingerprints across the grain. Iron of the ground, Tide bellows. Good for the mind and good for the art. His large hands stained with its truth. His heart stained too. Charcoal dust against a pale blue iris. Seren plays upon her mam's lap. Midnight hair falling across her face, eyes a shrouded grey of tears, blotched skins for blotched paper. The hands that were rigid with telling now waves of familiarity down her back, soothing each prickled vertebrae. The eye of the fire.
Thank you very much.